Welcome to Evidence-Based Practice in Translational Science in Nursing. My name is Dr. Leodor Labrage. You can call me Dr. Leo, you can also call me Mr. Leo, and I will be your faculty for this course. I'm truly excited to work with you this semester. Now, as a graduate student, you are stepping into advanced role where your ability to evaluate evidence, think critically, and apply research to your specific practice will make a substantial impact on patient care and healthcare. Now, this course is designed to support you in building those essential skills and strengthening your confidence in using evidence to guide your decision. I look forward to learning with you here and as well as hearing your perspective and seeing you grow in this semester. Now let's take a moment to look at the overall objective of this course. Now this course is designed to prepare you to thoughtfully challenge current practices or procedures and even policies in nursing by seeking and applying the best available evidence. Now throughout the semester, you will learn how to translate research into practice and as well as identify gaps in knowledge that impact patient care. In this course, you will develop key skills such as locating current evidence, critically appraising peer-reviewed studies, and synthesizing that evidence to formulate meaningful recommendations for practice. By the end of this course, you will be better equipped to make informed evidence-based decisions that contribute to improving healthcare outcomes. Now let's review the learning objectives of this course. Now, by the end of the course, students will be able to advocate for ethical conduct of research and translation of scholarship into practice, which is very essential in ensuring integrity and accountability in nursing. And the second one is that you will also learn to apply evidence-based practice by formulating PICO question, conducting a literature search. You're going to synthesize evidence, and of course, you're going to apply guidelines to improve practice. Now, in addition, you're also going to perform critical appraisal of articles or studies using scholarly databases to generate strong evidence for nursing practice in the care environment. And finally, you will synthesize evidence from multiple perspectives to improve practice and enhance patient and system level outcomes. Now, these objectives are designed to build your confidence and competence as a master's prepared nurse who can lead with evidence and make meaningful impact in healthcare and nursing. So in this course, we will be using mainly the book of Melnick and Feinhout Overhaul 2022. This is the 5th edition Evidence-Based Practice Nursing and Healthcare. And most of your work will adhere to EPA format. That's why I'm also suggesting you to access the publication manual of the American Psychological Association. The good thing is that this resource is available online. In addition to this, I'm also suggesting you to have an access to the User's Guide to the Medical Literature, a manual for evidence-based clinical practice by Guyat et al. 2015. Now let's talk about assessment and evaluation. 35% will come from online discussion forum, and in our class, there will be 7 discussion forums. There will be mini paper assignment as well, which is 20%. In addition to that, 25% will come from your group evidence-based paper. In addition to that, 15% will originate from group evidence-based practice poster presentation, which is going to be group and team effort as well. And finally, individual final reflection paper is worth 5%. Now, as you navigate the course, I want you to pay attention to the course schedule or course calendar. This will be your primary guide each week. In the schedule on the slides, you will find the weekly topics, of course, the dates, as well as the assigned readings for that particular week or weeks, and the learning objectives, as well as the different assignments and due dates. I want you to review this document carefully and stay on track, as it will help you manage your time and stay successful in this course. A big chunk of your grade will originate from discussion forums, which is 35%. The discussion forums are designed to promote critical thinking, scholarly discussions, and application of core concepts. In here, students engage either individually and or in groups to reflect and practice problems, develop eco question, appraise and synthesize evidence, and develop an implementation and evaluation plan. In our discussion forum, students must respond individually to at least one classmate's post with a scholarly feedback of 150 words. Now, in selected discussion forums, groups are also required to submit a group response to peer feedback, and they're also required to submit the revised work. Take note that each discussion forum has dedicated rubric. As previously mentioned, there will be 7 EBP discussion forums. Except for EBP discussion 1, most of EBP discussion forums requires group post. In addition to group post, each student are required to provide individual feedback. In addition to that, in selected discussion forums, groups are also required to submit a group response to peer feedback. In here, they need to revise the original work based on the feedback received and post the revised version. Now, let's talk about the rubric that I'm going to use to evaluate the discussion forum. Now, each discussion forum has its own grading rubric. It has a specific requirements. Some forums require individual participation and some require group collaboration and some require both. And again, just before starting posting in the discussion forum section, make sure to review the rubric for each discussion forum. Now, 20% of your grade will originate from mini assignment papers. In this course, there will be 4 mini assignments. In this assignment, students are provided opportunity to apply research and EBP skills in focus and specific tasks. For example, identifying practice problem, or reflecting in the clinical context, or it could be appraising original research and research studies. Now, these mini papers are very important because they will serve as foundational skills and it will prepare you for group projects and discussions. You will observe that most of these mini paper assignments are required and should be completed before you proceed with the discussion forum. For example, for mini paper 1, which is questioning tradition, this mini paper assignment is very important. It should be completed, it should be submitted before you can proceed to discussion forum 2. The same with mini paper 2 and mini paper 3 as well. And these mini paper assignments are individual assignments. Now let's talk about the evidence-based practice group paper, which is 25%. Now, the purpose of this assignment is for students to synthesize and apply the full evidence-based practice process. Take note, this is a group assignment completed in the same groups used throughout the course. Now, this paper is built upon your previous group work throughout the course. You are expected to refine, expand, and integrate these components into one cohesive scholarly final paper. Now, this paper should be 5 to 8 pages in length and should be formatted according to the 7th edition of APA. And this must include at least 10 to 12 peer-reviewed research studies. And when you develop your group paper, your evidence-based group paper, I want you to carefully review the rubric provided to ensure that all required sections are met including the expectations as well as the grading criteria.
Now these are the suggested section of your EBP paper. You start with introduction and background. Here you're going to identify a significant clinical or organizational practice problem and its relevance to patient outcomes, safety, quality, or cost. The next section is your PICO clinical question. Here you're going to present your clear and well-formatted PICO question that aligns with your identified practice problem. The next section would be your search strategy. Here you need to describe the databases you search, the inclusion and exclusion criteria applied, and the different keywords or search words that you have used in searching the articles. The fourth part of this paper is your critical appraisal. And here, you need to critically appraise each selected study using appropriate tools, for quantitative or systematic review design. In here, the purpose of this section is really to demonstrate your ability to assess the validity, the reliability, and the overall strength of the evidence, and make sure to have a summary of evidence as part of your appendix. The next section is about evidence synthesis. This section will summarize the evidence collectively. And in here, you're going to identify patterns. You're going to identify consistencies. You're going to identify if there are existing contradictions or gaps in the literature. Of course, the next section talks about your proposed EPP intervention. Here, students will propose an evidence-supported practice change. And of course, you need to explain how the recommendation is linked to your appraisal findings. The next section is implementation plan. Using EBP in implementation model, for example, the Iowa model or the Johns Hopkins evidence-based practice model, you need to outline the steps for implementing the proposed practice change. In here, you need to include this stakeholder engagement, you need to assess organizational readiness, possible resources that you might need, strategies, timeline, and you need to present and describe what are the potential barriers and facilitators. The next section is the evaluation plan. Here, you need to describe the proposed outcome measures. This may include the economic implication of your proposed EBP implementation. This section also provides the description of data collection strategies and the benchmark for success to evaluate the effectiveness of the intervention. The next part would be your conclusion. So basically in here, you need to highlight the expected impact of your proposed practice change and its implication for advanced practice nursing. Of course, the reference section should be provided using the 7th edition EPA format, and part of your appendix, most importantly, would be the summary table of articles reviewed. Now let's talk about the rubric for your EBP project. Now, on the slides, you will see the rubric that I'm going to use to evaluate your work. And take note of the different criteria for evaluation, and you would notice that these criteria are well aligned with the different suggested sections that I have discussed earlier. And please make sure to review the different description of each criteria. And before you start working on your EBP project, I want you to review this one to guide you as you work on your project.
Now let's talk about the EBP poster presentation, which is going to be 15%. Now, the purpose of this assignment is for students to demonstrate dissemination skills by translating their EBP group project into a professional poster. Now, the poster should communicate the project findings in a clear, visually engaging way suitable for presentation at a conference, in organizational meeting, or professional setting. In this particular assignment, the group will translate their EBP project into a poster. The presentations require clear visuals, evidence-based recommendation, and collaborative participation with peer feedback provided individually. Now, this poster presentation is completed by the same groups used for the EBP paper. Now, part of the requirement or format for this poster presentation is that the poster should be 36 inches by 48 inches and can be created using PowerPoint or Canva template. Now, posters will be submitted during the last session as a pre-recorded video. Now, take note that when you develop your poster, there is a specific rubric provided, and you should be able to access this rubric in our Canvas. Now let's talk about the EBP poster format. I know that some of you have already an experience presenting a poster in a research conference. Nonetheless, in this particular course, these are the suggested content of your poster. Title, authors, the background and significance, which means your poster should clearly present briefly the background and significance and the relevance of your work. The PICO question, search strategy, you need to include what are the database and the keywords, or if there are inclusion and exclusion criteria included. Summary of evidence, and of course, the synthesis of evidence should be there. Proposed EBP change, implementation plan, evaluation plan, implication for practice, and of course, the reference section. Now, as mentioned earlier, aside from the poster that you're going to submit, you need to do a pre-recording explaining your poster. And the pre-recording should be at least 8 to 10 minutes. And this is very important. Each of your team members must be speaking in this pre-recorded video. And this pre-recorded video should be uploaded as part of your submission. Now, this is an example of a poster of an evidence-based project. So your poster might probably look like this. But again, I want you to consider the suggested sections in the previous slides. So how am I going to evaluate your poster? Now on the slides right now, you will see the rubric that I'm going to use for the poster presentation. And I want you to take note of the different criteria in evaluation. You would notice that the different criteria are aligned with the suggested headings. Of course, in addition to that, there are additional criteria such as, for example, visual design and professionalism. That's going to be 10%. And of course, presentation and communication, and it's going to be 10%. And it refers to the recordings that you're going to make once your poster is created. And finally, 5% of your overall grade will originate from your final reflection paper. Now, this course component provides students with the opportunity to reflect on their growth as emerging nursing leaders. In this particular assignment, students will evaluate how their learning and evidence-based practice has strengthened their skills and readiness to integrate decision into decision-making, influence outcomes, and lead evidence-based change within their professional nursing role. Now that brings us to the end of our video orientation. If you have any questions or need support at any point during this semester, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always here to help. I'll be working alongside you throughout this course to support your learning and growth. On the screen, you will see my room number. If you wanted to personally communicate with me or talk to me, or alternatively, if you wanted to communicate through email, I have provided my email address on the screen. I'm really looking forward to getting to know each of you and seeing all that you accomplish this semester. Together, let's make it a great experience together. Thank you so much.